Welcome to Wisdom Planet, wisdom worth spreading. Happy listening. The book I am interpreting for you today is called The Pyramid Principle, with the subtitle Logic in Writing and Thinking. The Pyramid Principle method comes from the famous consulting management company McKinsey. The person who first proposed this method is called Barbara Minto, who is also the author of this book. Minto graduated from Harvard Business School and was the first female consultant at McKinsey. After joining McKinsey, the company recognized her talent in writing and communication and assigned her to help consultants who were not good at expressing their views, to improve their abilities in this area. As a result, she gradually developed the Pyramid Principle method during this process. For a long time, there was no clear method proposed to teach us how to express, think, and solve problems logically. It was not until Barbara Minto summarized the Pyramid Principle. The English original version of this book has been published for over 40 years, translated into multiple languages, reprinted several times, and consistently ranks among the bestsellers in various countries. It is often included in various must-read book lists and recommended by many people. However, if you search for book reviews of this book on the internet, you can also find another perspective criticizing it as empty and meaningless. I came across a review that said the so-called Pyramid Principle can actually be explained in half a minute. Any matter can be summarized into a central argument, which can be supported by 3 to 7 arguments. Each argument can itself become a central argument and be supported by 3 to 7 arguments, repeating the shape like a pyramid. The reviewer believes that the author unnecessarily wrote a whole book just to explain such a simple concept, and therefore, this book is not worth recommending. There are many similar evaluations as well. Why is the evaluation of this book so polarized? Is it true that some people are mythologizing this book, or is it a valuable book that many people just haven't understood? In fact, whether it's criticism or praise, they both stem from a characteristic of the Pyramid Principle, which is this method is very simple and clear. Later on, I will introduce to you what exactly the Pyramid Principle is, although it won't be as quick as the critics claim, who say it can be explained in half a minute. However, in about 10 minutes, you will have a complete understanding of the Pyramid Principle. Although there may be critics who feel that such a simple theory is not worthy of admiration, it is precisely because of the simplicity and clarity of the Pyramid Principle that it possesses 2 advantages. First, the scope of application of the Pyramid Principle is particularly wide. For example, using the Pyramid Principle to guide our expression, whether you want to clarify something to someone within 1 minute or elaborate on a problem in a 1-hour speech, you can use the Pyramid Principle to help organize your thoughts. Alternatively, if you receive a project at work and want to complete it, you need at least 3 steps: clarify your own thinking, develop problem-solving steps, and persuade others to help you. You can use the Pyramid Principle to assist you in completing these 3 steps faster and more systematically. Secondly, because the Pyramid Principle is simple and clear, it has led to the development of other methods. To be honest, the Pyramid Principle has been around for over 40 years, and some of the methods presented in the book may seem a bit outdated from today's perspective. However, more people have since discovered additional and more effective methods based on the core principles of the Pyramid Principle. They have also been surprised to find that the methods they thought were original are actually highly consistent with the principles of the Pyramid Principle. The Pyramid Principle is like an operating system. Some of the pre-installed software may not be good, but you can load more and better software onto the operating system. You can even develop your own software based on this principle. Moreover, this operating system can be installed not only on desktop computers but also on laptops, tablets, and smartphones, allowing you to handle various tasks with one operating system. Even when faced with a task that you have no experience in handling, you will have at least one universal solution. Strong scalability and wide applicability are the greatest advantages of the Pyramid Principle. Next, I will divide the presentation into 4 parts to introduce the Pyramid Principle to you. In the first part, let's take a look at what the Pyramid Principle is. Next, let's see how to apply the Pyramid Principle in learning, work, and life. In the following 3 parts, we will examine 3 of the most common scenarios in real life, just as the subtitle of this book suggests: thinking, expressing, and problem solving. In these 3 sections, not only will we discuss the methods in the book, but I will also introduce to you methods that are even more effective beyond this book. Part 1. Let's first take a look at what the pyramid principle is. Earlier, we mentioned that some people say that pyramid principle is a simplified version of the 3 elements of writing an argumentative essay. Below the central thesis, find 3 to 7 pieces of evidence, and below each piece of evidence, find 3 to 7 subpoints. In fact, this is just the manifestation of the pyramid principle. So what is the core of the pyramid principle? The pyramid principle is a way of systematically managing information. The famous cognitive psychologist Steven Pinker once said, "The difficulty of writing lies in unfolding the networked thoughts through tree-like syntax into linear words." This statement is particularly powerful because it reveals the underlying logic of writing and highlights the greatest technical challenge of writing: how to gather countless fragmented thoughts in the mind and integrate them into the best possible line of text. And this is not only the process of our writing, but also the logic of how we think about problems. Our way of thinking often goes through these 3 stages: network, hierarchical, linear. Our extensive thinking actually stays in a networked stage. It means that we have a large amount of relevant information that seems to be related to a theme, but there is no logical connection between these pieces of information. And everything we do outwardly, our demands, often have to follow linear logic. For example, when I'm discussing this book with you, I need to plan which part to talk about first, and then which part to talk about next, as well as which sentence to mention first and which one to mention later. When we are taking action, it's the same. We need to have a detailed action plan, just like programmers writing code, in order to complete complex tasks. This is also linear. So why is it that in many cases, I feel like I understand a book and have no problems? But when it comes to putting it into practice, I get stuck. I can't explain the book to others. I can't follow the book's instructions. It's because network thinking and linear thinking don't match, and there's a crucial step missing, making network thinking logical and organized. Just like when we watch mystery detective TV dramas, the detective has many clues in his hands, all related to the case, but he hasn't figured out the exact relationship between these clues yet. He will create a wall of clues, with various photos, cutouts, and notes posted on it, and then connect the clues with lines to find the logic behind them and determine the next course of action. This is the core value of the pyramid principle. All of these techniques aim to find a systematic approach to construct a hierarchical and logically clear tree-like thinking. Once this step is done well, from thinking to expressing, from thinking to taking action, this path can be considered completely unblocked. This is the most important significance of the pyramid principle: to construct the central platform of our thinking, systematically manage information, and connect thinking, expression, and action. Part 2. Next, let's take a look at how to apply the pyramid principle in practice. First, let's talk about how to enhance thinking ability using the pyramid principle. Many people have a misconception that they are not articulate, that they understand many things in their hearts but cannot express them clearly. In fact, most people struggle to express themselves clearly because they haven't thought things through. If their thinking becomes clear, their expression and actions will become more fluent. In the book, there is an example. Your colleague wants to organize a meeting that was originally scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday. However, he told you that he wants to change the time. When he called you, he said the following: Person A, who is in charge of marketing, said he has something to do tomorrow and can't attend the meeting anymore. Person B, who is in charge of research and development, said that after tomorrow, he will have more free time and can attend the meeting, but he doesn't have any time before 11 a.m. tomorrow. And Person C, who is in charge of products, said he can only return from out of town later tomorrow. Also, when I tried to book the meeting, I found out that the main conference room for tomorrow has already been reserved, and only the small conference room is available. If department colleagues attend, there might not be enough seats. However, the main conference room for Thursday hasn't been reserved by anyone yet. So, it would be more suitable to schedule our meeting for Thursday at 11 a.m. Do you have time? You see, just now I said a long paragraph, and you might have only heard one sentence about a meeting on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, with the rest of the information being omitted. Let's rephrase it now. If a colleague says to you, the meeting originally scheduled for tomorrow wants to be changed to Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. Can you accommodate this? Because on Wednesday, Person A, who is in charge of marketing, has something to attend to. Person C, who is in charge of products, is out of town and cannot return, and Person B, who is in charge of research and development, has more availability on Thursday. Additionally, we can also reserve the large conference room for Thursday and have all relevant department colleagues attend. So, can we change the meeting to Thursday morning at 11 o'clock? This time, when you listen to your colleague's explanation again, is it much clearer? Why is it like this? Because you can clearly hear the conclusion. Just like the example just now, the first thing you hear is, "Can we reschedule the meeting to Thursday at 11 a.m.?" You can immediately grasp the main point of this sentence. When organizing scattered information, the author particularly emphasizes conclusion first. However, please note that summarizing a few problems or reasons does not constitute a conclusion. A conclusion is a clear and definite viewpoint. For example, we often come across sentences like, "Our company currently has 2 problems," or "There are 3 reasons for the success of our project" in meetings or written articles. The author states that if you present these as arguments, it indicates that you haven't thoroughly thought it through because we cannot obtain any useful information from the 2 problems or 3 reasons you mentioned. The book suggests that you can directly express your opinions. For example, if you want to analyze the problems in employee management, you can say that the company's employee responsibilities and corresponding incentive systems are not aligned, resulting in low employee performance. Such an opinion is much more valuable, and when you say it, others can immediately understand what you want to express. However, if thoughts are not organized, it is difficult to reach conclusions first. How can we organize scattered ideas and fragmented information? This book tells us that this process is not as complicated as you think. In fact, there are only 4 logical ways to organize information: chronological order, spatial order, order of importance, and logical deduction. As long as you understand these 4 logical orders, you will be able to handle the majority of information. Time sequence, spatial sequence, and order of importance are self-explanatory. But what is the order of logical deduction? It refers to the classical syllogism used by Socrates, which consists of a major premise, a minor premise, and a conclusion. For example, the major premise is that all people will die, the minor premise is that Socrates is a human, and the conclusion is that Socrates will also die. If you have a viewpoint, you can choose one of these 4 sequences to organize arguments supporting this viewpoint, and then summarize the main idea. At this point, this information is no longer scattered thoughts, but a complete expression with a clear conclusion and a clear structure. However, before articulating, there's another pivotal step: verification. The book provides a criterion called the Mies rule, ensuring that arguments supporting a point are mutually exclusive yet collectively exhaustive. In essence, the Mies principle can be summarized as ensuring no overlaps and no omissions. For example, let's say you want to say that Michael has strong work abilities, which is your argument. You provided 3 pieces of evidence. First, he always completes the tasks assigned by his superiors on time. Second, he has good relationships with his colleagues. Third, he never procrastinates when it comes to handing over work. These 3 points may be arranged in order of importance. However, when checked using the Mies principle, these 3 arguments have issues. Firstly, they are not mutually exclusive. For example, completing tasks assigned by the leader on time and not delaying the handover of work overlap. Secondly, these 3 points do not fully exhaust the requirements of a highly capable professional in the workplace. Therefore, when organizing our thoughts, we not only need to achieve logical clarity but also use the Mies principle to double-check this information, ensuring no redundancy or omission. To summarize, in order to organize a bunch of scattered ideas and fragmented information into a logically coherent whole, you can follow 4 steps. First, divide them into piles, grouping related ideas together. Second, horizontally organize them by using chronological order, spatial order, degree order, or deductive order to establish logical connections between the information. Third, think vertically and summarize the main theme. Lastly, use the Mies principle to check if each part is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. If you can achieve completeness without repetition or omission, your thinking will be relatively comprehensive. How can one develop this kind of thinking ability? The book The Pyramid Principle does not provide a good method. However, I found a good exercise method in another book called 0-Second Thinking. Interestingly, the author of this book, 0-Second Thinking, also comes from McKinsey & Company. This training method is called the A4 paper note-taking method. How to do it specifically. 3 steps. Step 1. Find a piece of A4 paper and place it horizontally in front of you. Step 2. Write the topic of the notes in the top left corner, such as how to make your thinking more logical. Step 3. Within 1 minute, quickly write down all the related content that comes to your mind. The ideal state is to write 4 to 6 lines, with each line containing 20 to 30 characters. The reason for setting a 1-minute time limit is to make people more focused. If there is no time limit, it is very easy to lose concentration when writing notes, or get stuck in a state of indecision, tearing up and rewriting if unsatisfied with just 2 lines. At the beginning, it is often difficult to think of what to write. At this stage, just make yourself write at least 3 lines. Try to complete several pages of A4 notes every day, and after writing dozens of pages of notes, you will find your rhythm. Once you have become proficient in your A4 note-taking method, you can use it to exercise your logical thinking ability. Under a specific topic, you list 4 to 6 lines of content, and then you can ask yourself, how should these contents be logically arranged? Is it in chronological order, spatial order, order of importance, or logical deduction order? Finally, use the Mies principle to check if your content is comprehensive and non-repetitive. Part 3. After finishing our thoughts, let's talk about how to enhance the ability of expression using the pyramid principle. In the workplace, we have a need for expression almost every day. Verbal expressions include meetings, job reports, and speeches. There are even more scenarios for written expressions, such as creating a plan, writing a report, making an application, and so on. Even sending an email is a form of written expression. And we all know that it is not easy to make others willing to listen to your speech or read your articles. So what exactly makes expression difficult? You may think that I lack eloquence or writing skills, but this book mentions that these are not the most important factors. The most important thing for clear expression is to reduce the cognitive burden on the other person. Our brain cognition has a characteristic, which is that the short-term memory of the brain is particularly limited. Scientists have found that the capacity of human short-term memory is 7 plus or minus 2, which means that people with strong memory can remember 9 things at once, while those with poor memory can remember a maximum of 5 things at once. Don't believe it? Let's conduct an experiment. I have 12 English letters here. I will read them once, and you see how many you can remember after hearing them once. CPUNBAKTVRPGC, PUNBAKTVRPG. But if I say it again in a different way. CPUNBAKTVRPG CPUNBAKTVRPG. You will find that this time it is much easier to remember. It's like our brain only has 7 drawers, and once they are full, it's hard to fit anything else. But no one says that each drawer in the brain can only hold 1 letter, so we can group 12 letters together. This way, we only need 4 drawers to fit these letters into the brain. This ability to package complex information is called chunking. Even if your article is short, only 1 page long, it will still include around several dozen sentences. Readers must read and understand each sentence, search for the connections between each sentence, and think repeatedly from beginning to end. This is actually a very mentally demanding task. The more you can make the other person understand your meaning with less time spent, the more skilled you are at expressing yourself. What method can be used to reduce the cognitive burden on the other party? You need a clear pyramid structure. I made a summary with 3 key points, 1 goal, 2 directions, and 3 principles. I have created a diagram of the content of this audio episode using the pyramid principle. Open the document, and you can view this diagram. Let's refer to this diagram and discuss these 3 key points. Let's start with a goal, the most important aspect of the pyramid structure, called connecting information with questions. For example, in the part where it says expressing logic on this diagram, there is a hidden question behind the line from reducing cognitive load to cognitive characteristics of the brain, which is why. Why is reducing cognitive load the core of expressing logic? Because our brain only has 7 compartments, and once they are full, it becomes difficult to fit anything else. Behind the line from reducing cognitive load to pyramid structure, there is also a hidden question, which is how? How can we reduce cognitive load? By using the pyramid structure. This is the core objective of the pyramid structure, connecting fragmented information through questions. By finding the right questions, we find the right connections and thus establish the correct logic. After discussing this goal, let's talk about 2 directions. Building a pyramid structure, you can do it from top to bottom or from bottom to top. Simply put, top-down means finding answers to questions. First, identify the main question, connect it with a line for each question, and provide an answer below. Then, imagine if the answer you provided would raise new questions from others. If so, continue connecting downwards, building the pyramid layer by layer like this. In addition, you can also change direction and build a pyramid from the bottom up, which is essentially the opposite, starting with the answer and finding the question. Because many times, our ideas are fragmented and we haven't thought through the big question yet. In this case, you need to ignore logic for now and list out all the key points you want to say. Then, group these key points together and see which ones are related and if there is a common theme behind them. Find the connection between them, and in the end, you will find that core question. There is also a small reminder in the book, suggesting that you prioritize trying the top-down approach, as this method can quickly establish a structure. The bottom-up approach is a bit more difficult because you have to find connections from fragments. However, this method also has its benefits as it can better enhance your creative thinking. Finally, let's talk about 3 principles again. First, it is vertical, which means that the ideas at each level in the article must be a summary and generalization of the ideas in the next level. Second, it is horizontal, which means that the ideas within each group must belong to the same logical category. Third, it is also horizontal, the ideas within each group must be organized in logical order. If you want to write an article or prepare a speech, you can organize it according to these 3 principles. First, establish a central idea, and then connect the information using questions. In fact, effective communication is like flying a kite. The other person is the kite, and you have a string in your hand. You keep letting out the string, allowing the kite to go further and further, but you also occasionally pull the string to keep their attention focused. Asking questions is like pulling the string, and providing answers is like letting out the string. You can continue this sequence throughout the entire content. Use questions to spark curiosity and use answers to convey information. Now that we know how to organize an article, how can we make others willing to listen to you and read your article? In other words, how can we make others interested in the topics you propose? This brings us to the topic of the article's introduction. A good introduction can capture others' attention and make them want to continue reading. How can we design a good introduction? The pyramid principle gives us a useful template called the SCQA model. SCQA stands for the initials of the 4 English words: situation, complication, question, and answer. Let's break it down one by one. First, let's talk about S, situation. This is the background, where you introduce the background information before presenting a viewpoint or analyzing a problem to the other party. This helps establish consensus between you and the other party, while also focusing their attention on a specific time and space. This makes it easier to introduce your viewpoint. After explaining the background, others' reactions may be, "I agree with what you're saying, but so what?" or "Why are you telling me all this?" At this point, you can introduce the complication, which is the conflict. It's like having a common goal, but encountering obstacles in the process of achieving it. By combining the background with the conflict, you create a challenge. When faced with a challenge, there are usually 4 types of mentality. The first is empathy. Even if this predicament is not mine, I still feel distressed along with others. The second is detachment. This challenge is also my predicament, and I want to get rid of it. The third is taking shortcuts. I really want to achieve that goal, but this obstacle is annoying. Can I quickly solve it? The fourth is competitiveness. Although this is a challenge, I must overcome it. No matter what psychological factor it is, the other party has started to pay more attention to this topic, and you have successfully aroused their interest in this topic. At this point, their most concerned question is, "What should I do?" You can now provide the third element of the SCQA model, which is the Q, question, to address their doubts. Afterwards, your audience will naturally develop expectations and want to know the answer to the question. At this point, you can provide them with an answer, which is the A, answer. Next, you can continue to use a question followed by an answer to raise their doubts, soothe their emotions, and give them a sense of certainty. They will then follow your line of thought and listen to this topic. Speaking of this, you understand that if you want the audience to be interested in your topic, you don't have to deliberately cater to them or talk about a topic you think they will care about. What you need is to set a challenge. This SCQA model utilizes the curiosity triggered by conflicts in the brain to motivate us to keep reading, just like our willingness to listen to stories. After explaining the usage of the SCQA model, the author has two reminders. First, in the SCQA model, you need to pay special attention to the S, the background. If you know who will be reading your article or listening to your presentation, introducing the background is simple. After all, when people are familiar with each other, consensus is easier to establish. For example, if you write an internal email to department members for a report, it is easier in this case. However, if you have a wide range of readers or listeners, such as publishing articles in magazines, books, or speaking in public, introducing the background becomes relatively more difficult. You need to ensure that the background information you introduce can form a consensus with the readers. This is something that both you and the readers understand. The second suggestion given in the book is that you can adjust the order of SCQA according to your needs, which can help you achieve different effects. If you want to get straight to the point, you can put the answer first, then provide the background, and finally introduce the conflict. If you want to arouse curiosity in the other person, you can put the conflict first, then provide the background, and finally give the answer. Speaking of this, let's briefly summarize. In order to make something clear, you should try to reduce the cognitive burden for the other person. Instead of giving them a bunch of fragmented information, you should provide them with complete and well-structured content. You can build a pyramid structure, focusing on 3 key points, 1 goal, 2 directions, and 3 principles. If you want to spark someone's interest and make them willing to read or listen to what you have to say, you can use the SCQA model. Start by creating a challenge through background and conflict, and then present the discussion topic in a question and answer format to capture their attention. You may ask, the method I just mentioned was a bit complicated. If I want to start practicing from scratch, is there a simpler method? According to the pyramid principle, there are 3 key points to summarize the writing method. First, the first sentence of each paragraph must be the main idea of that paragraph. Second, there must be a logical relationship between the sentences after each paragraph, whether it is a progressive relationship, a parallel relationship, or a contrasting relationship. In short, there must be a logical relationship. Third, there must be a logical relationship between the first sentence of the previous paragraph and the first sentence of the next paragraph, whether it is a parallel relationship, a progressive relationship, or a contrasting relationship. In any case, there must be a logical relationship. For writers, writing clearly is more important than writing vividly. Because reducing the cognitive burden on the reader is the key to effective communication. Part 4. Finally, let's talk about how to find solutions to problems with the help of the pyramid principle. You know, problem solving is McKinsey's expertise. You see, the consulting industry is specifically designed to provide solutions for other companies. When a company comes to McKinsey, it usually means they are facing new challenges in their operations. Consulting firms, like doctors, diagnose the situation and then provide tailored recommendations. They identify the areas where your company needs improvement the most and suggest what actions you should take. However, at this point, the consulting firm faces a challenge. Before accepting the assignment, they may not have a deep understanding of your market or your business. They need to quickly identify the core issues and provide a solution. Generally, consulting firms will first collect information, such as company data, industry data, and market data. The more comprehensive the information, the better. Then, they will consolidate all of this information together. The end result is often a mountain of data, with a large amount of details wasting too much of their time. If it is close to the deadline and they haven't found a good solution, they can only categorize these materials and add a general title. For example, what are our findings, conclusions, and recommendations, along with a large amount of data and charts? It may seem like the content is very substantial, but it doesn't provide much substantial help in solving the problem. Of course, it is not to say that the initial information gathering is not important, as it forms the basis for analysis. However, one should not get caught up in a large amount of fragmented information, as it not only affects efficiency but may also result in the inability to identify key issues in the end. How can we find effective solutions? The author reminds us to establish structured thinking and put information into a structured framework. Let me introduce you to a classic thinking model within McKinsey called cloud, rain, umbrella. How did it get its name? You will remember as soon as I mention it. Today, when I looked outside the window, I noticed dark clouds covering the sky. I thought it might rain soon, so I had to take an umbrella with me when I go out. What is the relationship between this model and problem solving? In fact, each word is a step to help you solve the problem. Cloud is looking up and seeing that it's cloudy today, which is a fact that needs to be stated with emphasis. Rain is the inference and judgment that it might rain later, based on the information, which means you need to predict the upcoming changes. Umbrella is taking the umbrella with me when I go out, which is the action determined based on the previous prediction. So, you will find that cloud, rain, umbrella is about going from facts to judgments and then to actions, from what it is, to why, and then to how to deal with it. However, in reality, the problems we need to solve are much more complex, so this book expands on the 3 steps we just mentioned. It provides a series of suggestions. The most crucial among them is defining the problem. Just like an experienced doctor, only by identifying the source of the illness can we prescribe the right treatment. The book provides a very useful method, which is related to the SCQA model we mentioned earlier, that is, background, conflict, question, answer. Different backgrounds and conflicts lead to different questions. According to the summary in the book, there are actually only 7 major types of questions. I have listed these 7 major types of questions in a checklist and placed it in the video description. I suggest you bookmark it. Next time, when you need to solve a problem, first see which of the 7 major types your question belongs to. After identifying the problem, how should we go about solving it? The author suggests that we should learn from scientists. Although business consulting and scientific research may seem like different fields, their core is actually quite similar. Both involve analyzing phenomena, drawing conclusions, and then finding action plans. And over the years, scientists have developed an effective set of research methods. Moreover, this method relies more on structured thinking than business consulting. When studying a company, you can gather all the information about the company and the industry. For example, if you are an astronomer, how do you collect information about the entire universe before conducting research? This approach of collecting information first and then analyzing it is not feasible. So for hundreds of years, scientists have accumulated a set of effective methodologies. The approach to scientific research involves proposing various hypotheses, designing crucial experiments, eliminating one or more hypotheses based on the results, and drawing clear conclusions through experimentation. Their motto of bold hypotheses, cautious verification is invaluable. In other words, you need to first force yourself to consider various possible causes of the problem, whether they are reliable or not, it doesn't matter, make bold hypotheses first. Afterwards, you will have a focus, and you can collect more information to verify whether the reasons you have conceived are truly the causes of the problem. How to verify specifically? The book provides a suggestion to present a tangible structure that helps you identify key points of the problem. Any specific field of a company or industry has a clear structure, including systems composed of different units. If you can draw a system diagram of the current or ideal situation, it can help you determine if there is a problem and also assist you in identifying and analyzing the causes of the problem. Conclusion. Just now, we talked a lot about the book, The Pyramid Principle. Now, let's summarize. What is the Pyramid Principle? It is a way of managing information in a systematic manner. Why do we need to manage information systematically? Because our thinking often tends to be associative. There is a large amount of related information that seems to be connected to a central theme, but lacks logical structure. However, expression and action require linear thinking. Network thinking and linear thinking are not compatible, and there is a crucial step missing in between, making network thinking logical and organized. This is the core value of the pyramid principle, where all techniques aim to find a systematic approach to construct a hierarchical and logically coherent tree-like thinking. Once this step is accomplished, the path from thinking to expression, from thinking to action, can be considered completely unobstructed. Next, let's discuss the specific applications. How to understand something clearly, that is, how to organize scattered information or ideas into a coherent expression. You can use time, space, importance, or logical deduction to arrange the logic, and then draw conclusions. However, it is important to note that after deducing the logic, you still need to use the Mies principle to test your logic and ensure that the information is not redundant or missing. How to explain something clearly, that is, to make the other person quickly understand the information you want to convey. You need to remember the 3 key points of the pyramid structure: 1 goal, 2 directions, and 3 principles. You can use the SCQA model. First, build a challenge using background and conflict, and then arouse the other person's interest by presenting the problem and answer. How to use the pyramid principle to find problem-solving methods. The most important thing is to establish structured thinking. With the help of the cloud, rain, umbrella model, you can remember the 3 steps to solve problems. First, define the problem, then analyze the problem, and finally find targeted solutions. In the process of problem solving, please learn from scientists by making bold hypotheses and carefully verifying them. The most commonly used method is to use tangible structures to identify the key points of the problem. If you can draw a clear structure of a company or a specific field in an industry, it can help you determine if there is a problem and find and analyze the causes of the problem. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you for your support. Please subscribe to our Wisdom Planet audiobook channel. Like and share it with family and friends. Wisdom worth spreading and opening up a better future. Thank you and see you again.